Hi.
Hello, my beautiful Leo friend.
Tell me what,
Oh, yeah.
why was last week so difficult? There was a point at which I texted a friend of mine. Actually, I texted you also. I think this
Yeah, yeah. I got one of those. Yeah.
is you and my other friend Jennifer. And I said, why is this retrograde so terrible?
Yeah. Well, we had a double retrograde for a while. We had Mercury and Mars retrograde.
Yeah,
Mercury only went direct on election day.
right.
And it still takes a while for the energy to go forward, for clarifications to come. So it was right in that double retrograde, and it's at the tail end of the Mars retrograde. Mars has been in Aries since the end of June,
Mhm.
and then September 9th it went retrograde. Now it's about to go forward November 13th, but it can exhaust us when we get to the end. I mean, Mars is our energy, and it's in Aries, which is fire, which is great when it's going forward. But retrograde, it just burns us out. And think of everything that's been going on in the world. We're exhausted. Everyone's exhausted. And that little Mercury miscommunication, it was just too much. Yeah, a lot of us felt that way. And even as Mars goes forward on November 13th, it's going to be in Aries until the first week of January. And that means also all of this hidden, because remember, so much hidden
All
stuff
the
goes on
stuff.
during retrogrades.
Yeah.
And with Mars, people are seething. I mean, people are even openly angry,
Oh, yeah.
but you ain't seen nothing yet. It's like it's all seething, and it's going to be rising. It's going to be rising. And so we have to see, because it's so divided, 75 million for Biden, 70 million, for Trump. So we're so divided. There's a huge group of people
Mhm.
absolutely devastated. And so as this energy goes forward, they're going to be expressing all of that. So we just had a lot of double retrograde repression. It
Right,
was just so
right.
hard. And you're just this light. You have all this Leo energy. Leo is, let's go forward. Let's be active.
Well,
Let's celebrate. So it
let's
was a
talk about
little
that.
hard.
Because this is like, this is what you do, is the personal, the one-on-one readings, and you're able to relate them to the bigger things that are happening in the world, and then teach us how to go forward. So when we went into lockdown, and soon after that, you said in April, Mars went into Aries, right?
Well, Mars went into Aries at the end of June.
June.
We
Okay.
had Mars in Pisces during the lockdown, which is it's spiritual warrior energy, but that was very confusing. We lose all boundaries with Pisces, and that was the virus spread like
Right.
wildfire. We didn't know what was going on. Pisces is kind of like a retrograde. It's very hidden.
So we went into lockdown, and I immediately got to work. I was like, okay, I'm locked in my house. I can't sit around watching Netflix, even though, I might enjoy that stuff. I only enjoy those things as a reward.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, all right, get to work. You can watch Netflix at the end of the night. You know what I mean? And I was working. I would get to the end of the day sometimes, Heather,
Yeah.
and be like, man, I didn't finish everything I wanted to do today during the lockdown, the whole period of the lockdown. And
Yeah.
the other thing that happened for me is that a lot of people felt very upset, very anxious, very needy, lonely, confused. And I was like, I'm fine. I think this is where I'm meant to be. Like, if you need me, come to me. So like I found a lot of my friends relying on me for whatever
Yeah.
during this time. And so leading up to the election, when we got into the Mars retrograde, the double retrograde that we were in, Mercury went into retrograde on top of Mars already being there. There was that last 10 days before the election where I was like, I'm done. Like, I have
Yes. Yes.
energy. I'd been bouncing off the walls since we were in lockdown. I was busy. My business has been busy. I've been doing things. And then
Yes.
that last week, there was that day where I texted you where one more electronic thing, if one more electronic thing went wrong, I was going to throw every electronic thing out the window. I was losing it. And there was also miscommunications with
Yes.
like phone representatives and tech support. I had to call tech support about my computer and my phone. It was like every bad retrograde, every bad Mercury retrograde in the same day.
Yes. Yeah.
So I kind of want to know, what was it about my chart that took me from being energized and positive in spite of the lockdown, and
Mhm.
feeling like I had something to
Mhm.
give, to being
Yeah.
feeling depleted.
Yes. That's a great question. That's a great question because with you, it was very specific. Okay, Mars and Aries, it is fire. You're Mr. Fireman. I mean, you're like
Oh,
fire, fire. Sun in Leo, Moon in Leo. You're Sagittarius rising.
yeah.
So initially, you have all of that fire, and with the sensitive Pisces, that actually for you, because you have the Cancer, all right, you can handle the water. And Pisces, for an artist, okay, for an artist, it's inspirational, it's creative, and you're an artist. And so your imagination went to work, and you have all that fire energy. So you had all the energy you needed
Mm,
when the initial lockdown happened, and you were relying on your imagination and your creativity, and you were building your business. And then when Mars went into Aries, that can overstimulate fire signs
mhm,
because it was almost like so much. And when it first went in, it can be that extra boost and it can be great. But when it goes retrograde,
mhm.
fire signs really feel it because all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, this isn't quite right. Like it was so good when it first went in. And then it's just, you can't quite take the actions you were taking and you burn out. See, fire can warm you up or burn you out. And so, especially with the fire signs, I tell them during a fire retrograde, when Mars is in a fire sign retrograde, you definitely need to be incorporating maybe more water activities, meditation, taking a hot bubble bath, just like because you can burn yourself out because it stimulates that fire in you, but yet it's retrograde, so it's not allowing you to express it,
Mm,
but it creates the desire to express it.
yes.
And that just creates, at the end, you just get exhausted, and you're just like, I'm done.
That's fascinating too, because the fight of needing and feeling the desire to express it and not being able to express it. I mean, is it fair to say that that could result in like a temporary creative block, like writer's block or something like that?
Yes, yeah, because all of a sudden it's because it's about taking action. Mars is taking action. And so that means the ability to do things on all different levels, even just basic levels of, okay, I got to get the groceries, I got to do this. And when actions start to become stressful, or it's a little bit, you don't quite have the energy to complete them, but yet we push ourselves. See, fire signs also push themselves forward.
Yeah,
They don't take a break.
yeah.
See, water signs, they really just, they're a little bit better at taking a bigger break when
No, that's
things get
100%. You know
stressful.
that from working with me, that I'm like, let's push through, let's push through.
Let's
And a
push through.
lot of times for me, I want to push through till I get a breakthrough.
Yes.
Sometimes the value of discipline is you
Yes.
work a little bit each time. You may not have the breakthrough that time, but if
Yes.
you trust that you're laying the foundation, eventually you're going to get the building. So I want to get to the doorway.
Yes.
Maybe we're taking a rest in the lobby for a minute. And that's what we're doing right now. So take
Yeah.
that rest in the lobby and
Yeah.
trust that maybe tomorrow you go through the door, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, that's right. And what you're describing is also Saturn, the importance of embracing our Saturn and getting that methodical, meticulous, consistent effort and above board. We don't take shortcuts and we be consistent. And Saturn will reward that. And actually, I mean, if, we all have that Saturn cycle. And when we're trying to get something done, if we follow Saturn's rules, that's one of the only times we're guaranteed a reward. It's karmic. And that every 7 years we have a major
Yeah.
check-in with Saturn. So that's actually the way to do it because you're
Yeah.
guaranteed that progress. It may not be as fast as you want because Saturn and Capricorn is slow, but what you're creating is guaranteed to eventually manifest. And it's also, you can create something permanent with that. And with fire signs, oh my gosh, pace
Yeah.
yourself
Because I'm like,
because it's, yeah, exactly. No, it's true. It's true. And so that's definitely, yeah, fire signs have been absolutely exhausted. Yeah. And then air signs like me with the Mercury retrograde, then air signs get, we get out of whack with the Mercury retrograde. So it's like air and fire can really spiral during a retrogrades and a double retrograde. Yeah.
Yeah. So that last week, right before the election, we were all feeling it. And you felt, I mean, a lot of people, a
Yes.
lot of my immediate circle were feeling this thing they couldn't name.
It was just we had
Everyone
been
attributed.
so strong, we had kept going, we had been so strong, and it was just that sort of that final straw of the double retrograde after everything else that's
Yeah.
happening. And Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter are still in Capricorn. Saturn and Jupiter have not broken, they're going to break free into Aquarius in late December, but so it's still just this heaviness. There's a
And
lot of
plus murder
heaviness.
hornets.
Yes, yes,
You know, so like
murder hornets. Yes.
somebody tweeted something very funny a few months ago, and they said, boy, the writer's room for 2020 really sucks because
Yeah.
you don't introduce a race revolution and a global plague and then bring in murder hornets in the second episode and do absolutely nothing with them.
That is great. Exactly. It's kind of like the worst writing ever of just, it's-
Everything is happening and nothing is happening, right?
oh
Um,
no, yeah. So it's just we had too much
mm,
and we didn't have the forward momentum to really deal with that many things on top of one another. I mean, retrogrades should be used to rejuvenate,
yeah.
to restore, to rehabilitate, to
Yeah.
reflect. But we don't have time for downtime right now.
No.
I mean, people are getting their kids, educated, back, trying to be back in school,
Mm.
and everything is going forward. So nobody could really take that break. And that's another reason, because that really goes against the energy of the retrogrades.
Yeah. And you talked in one of your episodes of Through the Lens of Astrology that you talked about how it felt like the universe was resetting us with this pandemic in a sense. So, everything has its yin and yang, everything has its light and
Yes.
dark, it's good and bad,
Yes.
right? So, here we are in this pandemic. What can we take from it? And I think this resetting and rethinking has maybe prepared us for the continued fight for
Yes.
moral value and for important change in America and the world, because we are facing an existential threat.
Yes. Well, yeah, and there are so many things. I mean, one, Uranus in Taurus. Taurus is all about values, and Uranus is awakening energy.
Mm.
So Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus takes 84 years to go around a chart. Okay, so and it only stays in a sign for 7 years, so it's not in Taurus that often,
Yeah.
and it's an awakening of our values, where some of us just assumed, oh, but everybody must be for that, right?
That's
And it's like,
the thing,
yeah,
right? Some
no.
people aren't. And you're like, really?
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I got to do a little bit more in that area.
Mm.
So we're all awakening to the reality that, I mean, we are very split. We are very split. And then we have to have that dialogue. And then there's also the triple Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, and Capricorn together. I mean, Capricorn is such serious energy.
Mm.
It really says when all of that energy is happening, you got to pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
This is serious and it will have long lasting effects.
Mm.
So you better make sure you like what's going on,
Mm.
because if you don't reform it, Uranus and Taurus is the reforming of the value. Uranus is a reform. And then that other energy is it's going to stick what we do.
Yeah.
So then that really means we got to get really clear with who we are and what we're trying to do. And also, something that I've not talked about, but there's this really special degree in in astrology called Regulus. And it has only just recently moved into Virgo. And Virgo is all about the highest manifestation of being of service to humanity, being of service to others, not putting your ego before what's good for the whole world. And it's also about being guardians of the environment. And it allows, because it's mutable energy, we can change. It allows us to transform our environment. That's really important. And that works on many levels of saying, let's look at what's happening on a global level. And like when the pandemic hit, the earth breathed, the earth took a breath
Yeah.
and had a little recovery. And it made us aware of, wow, okay, we're exhausting the planet. We're not only exhausting ourselves, we're exhausting the planet. And maybe we need to move out of this more narcissistic energy into the Virgo energy of, we got to all be of service. It's going to take all of us to be of service to make things better.
That's a great, I wonder if that's something we can talk about in our next meeting.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
let's
great. Because I've never talked about that publicly. You said something to trigger that. So.
And I love that idea because it is something that people are awakening to. So how long is Uranus is in Taurus right now?
Okay. Yeah, look at this. Uranus is in Taurus. Now it's going to be in Taurus for a while, but there is one big thing coming up. It's retrograde right now.
Yeah.
And that just means we're really rethinking our values. We're really refining and doing all of that. It's going to go forward the first week of January. And that is when Mars and Aries is going to also enter Taurus. So then all of a sudden we're going to have Mars and Uranus and Taurus come together the first week of January going forward. Now that's also explosive energy, which does mean, it's going to be a wild ride and until we get to January, and there is going to be some really explosive energy. But then, we're going to have the Aquarian energy come in, which values science, technology, is humanitarian, and is about the group. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we're moving into that energy.
Let me clarify something. You said, so there's going to be this explosive energy we have to get to January. Did you mean we have to get like to the end of January?
Yes, I see what you mean. That could be, it's like we're going to be heading, it's almost like it's going to be a little wild ride, and it could even culminate with extra explosiveness just when when Uranus goes forward and Mars is there. And then we kind of have to work through it. And then, yeah, absolutely. It'll get, as 2021 goes forward, Aquarian themes and Aquarian ideas, science, technology, humanitarian, all of that is going to rise. We're going to start to value those more.
I feel like you and I get on a conversation and we can talk forever. Now I've got like two interesting ideas. Like the age of Aquarius just came up.
Oh, that's a great.
Right. So we've got two topics that we've got to think of.
Okay.
One is the age of Aquarius. The other is the
Regulus in Virgo.
Regulus in Virgo, yes, which is the higher values of service.
Yes, of service and of the environment.
So we got to make a note of that and talk about those things next.
Okay, have to remember.
Great, thank you. This is great. I hope this is helpful for people.
I hope so too. I want to be of service. Well, guess what? You and I both have Virgo midheavens. We really, really want to have what we do mean something, not just be entertaining. We want to be of service. That is our public role. When you have Virgo on your midheaven, that is, you connect Virgo energy to your professional status and career. And Virgo's also dealing with writing too. So writing and being of service. Yeah. We're supposed to be finding ways to do that for us to reach our destiny.
Well, you're doing a great job with it. I know that.
Thank you. So are you.
All right, Heather, take care. Have a great evening.
Okay, you too. Enjoy the rest of the Leo moon.
Yeah. For sure. Leos love to be the center of attention.
Yes. Yeah.
I love you.
Love you.